Greetings and salutations, everyone. It's me, AxeZTV, and today we're going to be looking at the problem with MMOs, featuring our buddy Asmongold.
The problem with MMOs today. This is the biggest problem.
Every single MMO developer out there treats the level up experience in their game like it's some big, giant, boring grind that just needs to be sludged through in order to get to end game because, oh yeah, that's where the real fun is. How many MMOs exist nowadays where you start playing it because your friends are all playing it, you get to like level 15 or something, you're bored out of your mind, and your friends are like, nah, dude, like, you gotta get to level 60, you gotta get to level 80, you gotta get to level 200 something before the fun really starts. What kind of garbage is that?
Okay, to be fair, this was the model for these games back in like the early 2000s. Like, the grind was part of the charm of the games. I mean, we can look at old school RuneScape right now. And the reason why it's still so highly played, like, and it's all grind. You could look at EVE Online, although that, albeit that's like a much smaller player base. And you'll still see the same practices, but modern MMO players don't want to do that shit. All of the quality of life stuff that happened in World of Warcraft, like the stuff that people say ruined World of Warcraft, most of those people didn't go play classic WoW, or if they did, they didn't make it for more than a month, because guess what, at the end of the day, all of that quality of life stuff actually makes the game feel a little bit better. So yeah, it might have been like that back in the day where it was the case that, like, oh yeah, like, the game doesn't really start until you get to 60, but there was a whole different like a whole different cult of personality around MMOs. Like the type of player you were encountering was much different. We were the ones who would like build up a world in a sandbox format. Like, I don't think those players exist all that much anymore. And if they do, they're playing whatever niche game that like that behavior facilitates, like Mortal Online, or that's the big one. EVE Online's another one that comes to mind. But yeah, just that player doesn't really exist that much anymore.
A video game needs to be fun and entertaining from the moment that you log in to the moment that you log out. Otherwise,
Exactly. Yeah, this shit that people say about how, oh, the game's only good at max level. Bitch, it should be good at level 1. Level 1, it should be good. Level 5, it's still good. Level 10, it's getting better.
what the heck is even the point of
I like that. I like that idea that a game can be good from level 1 to like whatever the level cap is. I don't know what gameplay, like how many gameplay loops does it take to make it so you're not bored by the time you hit level cap doing gameplay loops? Because you're going to run into the problem where if there's like too many, then it's way too overwhelming for players to like engage with the systems by the end of the leveling process. It's kind of like imagine having to do, you know, 20 different dailies like at level cap just because you wanted to keep the early game fresh and appealing from ground zero all the way to the end. Like a big part of MMOs, I think, is the reward at the end. It's kind of like how From Software games will put you in front of a boss that'll beat your ass over and over and over again for like 3.5 hours, and then you finally get it and you get that fucking endorphin and dopamine hit that you've been waiting for. It's that, but on a larger scale. Like there's something, I don't know, noble. There's something that even though it doesn't feel good when you're doing it, it feels good coming out the other side of like grinding for however many hours it's going to take, you know, to get the level cap, and then being like, okay, finally, like let's start getting into the difficult content. Let's start grinding out the gear. Let's start, like, you're gonna do all of this stuff on a much smaller scale as you go through the game, but it's when it's at in game that it really matters. And that's whether you play, like, whether you've been playing for a week or you've been playing for a year, like, getting to in game and actually grinding out that process is always just gonna feel, it's gonna feel like a dual-sided sword, where you're probably not enjoying it the most, but at the same time, you know that, like, these incremental gear increases are going to be way more important than upgrading from a level 5 staff to a level 10 staff. So that in-game grind, the appeal of the in-game grind will always be there. So it is probably a good idea to make the leveling process reflect what the in-game will look like in some way. Train how you fight, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. Jesus.
Playing it. If you have to go through 500 hours of crap and garbage just to get to a few hours of fun, that's not a good game. And this is something that
I will agree that, like, the pacing probably makes a really big deal. Going from level 1 to whatever level cap is should probably run you about, I don't know, like 30 to 60 hours. That being said, I don't know how devs would keep up with development cycles, especially on, like, quarterly development cycles. Like, those are already really rough to hit. If you're getting to level cap too quickly, that means you're getting through in game too quickly, and that's got to be a really difficult thing to balance.
I'm thinking about a lot for the past several weeks, ever since I started playing classic WoW hardcore. You see, in this version of World of Warcraft, you're trying to hit level
I'd never want to go
dying,
back to,
and if you do die,
like,
you
classic
have to
WoW
delete your
leveling.
character right after. And this has created an extraordinarily challenging way to play the game that has hooked thousands of players. In fact, the community has been growing so fast recently that Blizzard is even releasing official hardcore realms. I just made a video on that recently.
That's not confirmed, but it's all but confirmed.
Go check that one out.
If that's confirmed, that's pretty cool. It's more cool because it shows that the community is creating little fun stuff for them to do. This is part of, like, what made WoW special, is because, like, stuff like this would happen all the time, is that there's a community of people who want to engage with the game in a more, like, in a cooler, different, new way. And so they came up with a thing that has, like, that they can do on their own without, like, having to edit the game or access the API or anything like that. They just came up with this thing, like, oh yeah, we could just do hardcore mode for our characters. If we die, like, we delete the character and start all over again. And Blizz just like, oh shit, we should probably put that in the game. Now, it would be really shitty if they did that and then, like, somehow monetized it. Like, they sold, like, you only get one character slot for a hardcore server. Like, if they did something like that, it would piss me off so much. But nowadays, I'm always thinking, like, if we're doing something good in a game, how the hell can we monetize it? I have corporate brain right now. Like, it's crazy, but that's a cool thing. That's a cool thing. That's the community creating something, and then, like, the developer listening and wanting to implement a more official version of that thing. That's a cool thing until they fuck it up. And it's weird that they didn't do it anyway, just because of the fact that, like, hardcore mode has existed in Diablo, you know, ad infinitum. It would be really strange if they don't do it, because the feature's already in other games. I don't know. We'll see.
But, you know, as I've been doing classic WoW hardcore, and as I've been dying, and I've been having to restart in Durotar and Tirisfal Glades, Dunmara...
It's crazy that they're dying.
As I've been having to do the same starting zones over and over again, I've never gotten bored of it. And I'm talking with all these people in guilds and in the general chat, and they're not bored of it either.
To be fair, you have to consider the audience. You have an audience of nostalgia seekers that are playing WoW, and the places that are gonna invoke, like, the most nostalgic feelings are gonna be those early places. I used to be, like, my very first character, I regret it to this day, and I'm ashamed, was a night elf. I was ally for a brief moment. But just being in Tendrasil is like crazy. But yeah, the nostalgia of being in those zones is so powerful. Like, not only because the zone designs were just really good, but you also just remember the music. You remember the first time that you like got cast into this just vast world full of, you know, mysteries and murlocs, and you were just having a blast. So I could see why it doesn't bother somebody to do these hardcore challenges. There's a lot of especially in classic, because there's just a lot of nostalgia that you're interacting with it, and if you're playing classic already, we're already selecting for people who are probably more prone to like seeking out nostalgic content.
People will say, oh yeah, this is my 20th character. Oh yeah, this is my 10th character.
Yeah, see?
Here we go again, Duratar for the 17th time, and they're not bored of it.
Like, listen to that
Why is
behavior.
that? If you told me that I had to level up through Battle for Azeroth...
I think that the reason why a lot of people don't get bored of it is because you're talking to an audience of people that absolutely love the game. Because I think that if you asked and you did a poll in like maybe this chat, you know, how do you feel about leveling through Elwyn Forest again? I think it's going to be pretty low. And like another good example of this is like Season of Mastery. Whenever Season of Mastery released, it was pretty much dead on arrival. A lot of people didn't want to do it because they had already done it before. So the people that are hardcore players of Classic WoW, they are going to be like it's like you talk about like concentric circles. This is a very core level concentric circle.
Yeah. That's like that's kind of what I was hitting on, because you're already selecting for like a very niche group of people. So more than likely, like those, like by virtue of them playing Classic WoW, you're already selecting for a niche group of people. And they completed Classic WoW, and now they're like creating community content for Classic WoW.
Retail WoW, I would tear my eyes out. But if you told me,
True.
oh hey, you got to do Tirisfal Glades for the 10,000th time since you started playing this game in 2005, wouldn't bother me one bit. I would say, dude, let's do it. I'd make that.
I do think that Classic WoW is the only MMO that I played like ever. I didn't play a lot of the old MMOs, so like you can't really count that. Is the only MMO that I've ever played that the leveling experience is actually part of the game and it matters. That's not true in New World. It's not true in Lost Ark. It's not true really in Final Fantasy. Like it's just basically in all of those games, the level up experience is just simply a formality.
Dead rogue or that undead mage, and
I don't know what he means by this. I don't know what he means by this at all. Guild Wars 2, the leveling process is so strange compared to all of those other MMOs that like it's inextricably tied into the story, because like the only way you push forward are events that are happening on the map that coincide with the story that's happening, because you don't even get quest markers. So I don't know, that's a weird, I don't know how he's quantifying that comment at all. That's really weird.
Dive right in. Why is that? Blizzard back in the day
Quantifying or
had a
qualifying.
completely different mindset when it came to the level up experience in World of Warcraft. They wanted
MMOs had a completely different mindset. It wasn't even just Blizzard. Blizzard was just part of that group.
Yeah, this was my
the leveling to be fun. They knew
statements
that you
from the
were going
beginning
to
of the
spend
video.
untold numbers of hours just trying to get to level 60, and they wanted to make sure that that adventure hooked you right from the beginning. And there's a
my mom, whenever she hit level 60, she had slash played of 50 days. 50 fucking days. 50 times 24. That's how many hours she spent in the game before she even hit level 60. That is a fucking triumph.
It's so crazy that he got his mom into World of Warcraft
before they even hit max level. That doesn't fucking happen in Dragonflight. It didn't happen in Shadowlands or BFA either.
Lot that we could talk about
She was just
that
playing
has
the game.
lended to that hook. what causes it. The first things for me that come to mind, like, oh, you know, why do I like classic WoW leveling so much, even like in starting zones? I would say, well, I love the fact that all the gear matters and is relevant.
Yeah, the reason why is because it's hard and frustrating. That's unironically the reason why leveling in classic WoW is actually part of the game. It's because you are actually going to get fucked by certain quests. You actually need a group to do Hogger. You actually are not going to be able to do Lieutenant Fangor whenever you go to Red Ridge Mountains and he's level 27 and you're level 18. You just figured out, like, you didn't even know what level he was until you hit level 18. That's why. It's because it's fucking hard. And each class can't do everything. The reason why class identity was the strongest in classic WoW wasn't because...
Just the difficulty thing I agree with, but hard doesn't necessarily mean it was done in like a good way. Like, it wasn't really all that innovative. All they ever did was just like put a lot of units in the area. They made a mechanic where units would like run away and they would aggro other units in the area. So yeah, it was hard, it was frustrating, like you would die, but like most of the time it was just to like that basic mechanic. It wasn't like every fight that you were going into you were dealing with, you know, like small scale combat mechanics. Even something so small as to be like just moving, right? In Guild Wars 2, this is a thing constantly. You'll die constantly, but like you're also fighting enemies, low level enemies that have like full on combat mechanics that you need to be aware of. In some cases, not in all cases. In a lot of cases, it's just regular combat. The idea that you can just sit there and tank the damage and just have a easy go of it is not a thing in Guild Wars 2. And I think Guild Wars 2 is criminally underrepresented and underrated in the MMO community, especially by Asmongold.
Because certain classes were good at one thing, it's because certain classes were shit at everything else. So you want big AoE, you get a fucking mage. You want really good absorb shields, you get a fucking you get a fucking priest. Guild
Wars 2 does all this really well.
And that's only if it's really geared out. If you want massive damage early on, get a mage.
I like other MMOs, but I'm just a big simp for Guild Wars 2, even though I don't play it that much.
Created a lot of compelling design through actually things that were kind of bad design. It's like a weird like catch-22. It's bad, but it turns out to be good. It's very hard to know how to do that in the right way.
I love learning my new
I also want to counter just MMOs were really, really new, and this was like WoW was considered the casual MMO. Like, this was the MMO for the people who didn't play MMOs. Like, there were so many other ones that I can think of. Ragnarok, you know, everyone talks about EverQuest or Lineage, or I don't know. I played like Nixxiom, Kingdom of the Winds. I played a lot of MMOs. This was the Fortnite of MMOs. Like, this was just like, oh, this is for like kids. Look at this art style. Keep in mind, during the time that Asmongold is referencing, this game was not received as well as he's portraying right now.
Next, I love earning, you know, the dual wielding as a rogue at level 10, the Void Walker as a warlock. I like earning that first green robe as a priest when you...
But I will agree that, like, it was fairly fun to get new gear in these games. You don't feel like it's just something that's coming to you, and yeah, whenever you get something, even though you're getting stats that you'll never use, it's just like, oh yeah, cool, at least I got like a fucking upgraded piece of gear.
Get to Brill and Tirisfal Glades, getting your first green item drop out in the world. There's so much to say. Every single time you level a new character in WoW, it's a memorable experience. You go out, you pick up professions in order to
also, like, so like in Lost Ark, for example, besides like tier 1, 2, and 3 jumps, so this is Lost Ark's, this is their leveling progression, okay? Or their item progression. it's like this. With like maybe one jump right here whenever you get like your new set piece, maybe one jump right here whenever you get another set piece, and that's about it. But the reason why WoW Classic leveling felt so good is that let's see.
Show me something, Asmon. Where are you going with this?
Staff of Westfall. Whirlwind X. Ravager. And you know what? These points right here felt like shit. But they felt also really fucking good whenever you were right here, and right here.
I think you probably could have made a better comparison or better graph with like some dips. Because there's like getting int gear on your warrior because it's fucking male and you just need the armor because you don't get to wear plate until level 40 and you're in Serpent Shrine caverns doing some dumb shit. I don't remember the loot tables or anything like that. Like Asmongold probably does, but I do know that a lot of the times there were some peaks and valleys when it came to gearing, but it felt fun. Whereas now I definitely feel like a lot of MMOs, like the gearing doesn't feel fun to get new gear. You're just getting it. You're just getting a new item level and making sure that at any given point the old item level number is replaced with a higher one. And it doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel like intimate to your character.
That's why.
Your character even stronger than the guy next to you, you take the time to mine those nodes or skin those wolves or whatever. And
there's advantages to each one, by the way. It's not like Lost Ark is bad and Classic WoW is good. There are advantages to each one.
You feel like a badass walking
around
Lost
Ark
in the
is
gear
bad.
that you crafted yourself with a sharpened weapon that you have sharpened with your own two hands. And I don't know, everything feels impactful. Everything feels like it's worth
just
doing.
because it doesn't have WASD movement
to modern World of Warcraft and other modern MMOs.
Because
we're picking
it's a
up
cop.
professions
That's why.
or getting new pieces of gear or whatever is completely meaningless. It's completely meaningless. It has no impact whatsoever. It does not make the mobs less dangerous. It does not even make the level up experience feel like it's going faster. If anything, maybe you're killing mobs like 0.001% faster. That's
it doesn't
how it
matter.
feels.
Yeah.
And it's boring. If I'm playing an orc,
like I still remember how good it felt whenever I got Staff of Jordan, because I already had my warrior leveled up. And I bought Staff of Jordan to give to my Warlock whenever I hit level 35. I still remember that. Holy fuck, that was amazing.
And I'm leaving Razor Hill, and I'm a miner, and a blacksmith, and I'm a warrior. I'm thinking about several things. I'm thinking, man,
I agree with the idea that in the modern era you don't feel like the gearing, the leveling is very effective. Like Diablo 4 is experiencing this right now, where they decided to put level scaling in on all the enemies, so now everything that you do is level scaled, and that means you never truly get to feel like super powerful, at least in the beta. Now who's to say how that plays out at, you know, an actual level cap where, well, if the only thing you're scaling is levels, then once you hit level cap you can't go any further, so now all of the gear that is improving my stats actually look and feel the way that they should have felt the entire leveling experience. But I don't know if I agree with, like, there were gear points in like old school WoW that felt really, really good. Maybe if you were getting like set gear, like Scarlet Monastery gear or something like that, like maybe if you came across some like rare stuff like that, but the actual like damage output, maybe like there's definitely points where you're like, oh, I went from needing 2 frostbolts to 1 frostbolt, and you know, pyroblast. I guess that's really noticeable, but I don't know how much you saw that in like later levels.
Need to get healing potions. Those would be very useful for me when I face Fizzle down in like the canyons later on down the road. Hey, while I'm at Northwatch Keep or whatever that little human like castle is, I need to be gathering linen cloth to level up my first aid. That's going to be very useful to me as a warrior. I need to keep my eyes out for mining nodes because I need to create a new copper vest. I need to level up my blacksmithing. I want to make that.
Remember how many of you guys back in Classic WoW, you played a warrior and you made the green iron halberd? I remember I made that and I used it until like level 45. I remember that item so fucking well. It was so good, was it? It was fucking broken.
That green two-handed axe that's gonna make me unkillable for so many levels. Yeah. I'm thinking about all this stuff on top of the quests that I have to do, on top of the fact that I'm in the world, I'm planning out my route. You're more engaged with the game. And this is something that I wish that the modern game had. And so I've been sitting here pondering on that engagement.
The problem is that I don't even think Classic had that in a lot of ways. Because every single player, whenever given the option, they always picked paying a mage to run them through dungeons. And whenever that wasn't an option in Season of Mastery, it died. Because the people that enjoy this it's a small group of people. It is. A lot of people like the, get to end game, do all the normal activities. That, I think, is what the norm is. Now, personally, I can appreciate both of them in different ways, but there is a big part of me that misses how it was in Classic, where the game began at level 1 and not level 60.
Asking myself, do I feel this way when I play Dragonflight, for example? When I'm leveling a new character on the Dragon Isles?
I actually enjoyed leveling in Dragonflight. I thought it was fun. Now, I don't like leveling in multiple times, right? I mean, I didn't like that in Classic either. But I thought Dragonflight leveling was actually very well designed, and it was the best leveling experience I've had in World of Warcraft since Warlords of Draenor. I think it was better than Legion, better than BFA, better than Shadow.
I'll be honest. This was the first expansion in a really long time that tempted me as much as it did.
It's a lot of fun. There's all these cool systems that you can unlock, new things to do.
Ultimately, I didn't go back,
when I was leveling in Dragonflight, there was no moment where I freaked out and I got really excited, kind of like you do when you get your first 6-slot bag dropping off of a wolf in Dun Moreau.
Yeah, I mean, like, you maybe feel like, oh, wow, cool, whenever you get, like, a legend or a purple upgrade of a quest item or something like that. Like, oh, cool, great, I got a really good item. But, like, it doesn't really matter. And the reason why it doesn't matter is because it's so easy that if you have a green one, you're still going to kill it, you're still going to clear it, it doesn't make a difference. So I talk about a bag, damn it. No, I think that if you played Classic WoW and you actually went through it, especially back in the day, you probably did get excited about the first big bag that you looted from, like, an NPC or, like, some quest reward or something like that. You definitely did.
Where you're like, wow, this is going to be extremely
at least a lot of people
in the future.
Absolutely, and this is like one of the things that I'll say is a big issue with current gaming is just pacing. Dude, like every Korean MMO ever is probably the worst offender. And I don't know, like, they compete to see which one can be a worse offender of it with each new Korean MMO that comes out, it seems. Like, the idea that I log into a game for the first time and I am just bombarded with legendary shit that I don't know how to use yet, and purple stuff that I don't know how to use yet, 35 different currencies, a bunch of emotes, a bunch of like cosmetic stuff that I didn't even know I bought or qualified for, or I have no idea where to get it all, and all of that gets jammed into my inventory that I have to pay real world money to expand upon. And so, you know what would feel really good is little green bag with 6 bag slots in it. So, like, WoW understood this without creating the problem for you. It just had like really, really good pacing, so that when you did get a bag, like, it felt really good. That's why and it branched out to other things in the game. Like, this is one of the things that early World of Warcraft was so good at, and it's something that I think is vastly missing, is that each little piece of the puzzle forces an interaction with another piece of the puzzle at some point in some way. Now, the level of depth to which you will deal with that interaction can depend on you, but it's like, oh, I got a bag. That's awesome. I want more bags. Let me go ahead and work on my tailoring. So like I'm making little goals as I play the game, which is what makes the leveling process so much better. That's what good pacing is that as I play the game, I'm making micro goals throughout my process that I want to achieve. Each time I hit one of those goals, these are like self-set goals. This isn't just the game like moving me through it. It's just like each time I hit these little self-set goals, it's like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Like, I want all greens in all of my slots. That, like, and once I hit that, that's awesome. You play a Korean MMO now, or like any of this newer stuff, and it's like, we'll put epics in your shit like before you're even level 10. You've been playing the game 45 minutes. We'll deck you out in full legendary.
I am happy that this happened. This is great. It just changed my entire strategy playing forward in the game. I don't know. There was never really a moment like that for me in Dragonflight. In Star Wars The Old Republic, a game I recently just leveled through.
No, but I also think that Dragonflight is good in a different way. Dragonflight delivers a cohesive narrative that makes sense, and it's fun to play through at least once. I actually think that the Dragonflight questing experience is totally fine. It's not the same as classic WoW. It's just not the same thing. However, I think that the Dragonflight questing experience is actually very good.
Didn't really have a moment like that. Even in Elder Scrolls Online, a game that I really enjoy, ESO, you don't really have those moments. Modern MMOs just treat the level up experience like it's just a chore. And if you're gonna treat the level up content like it's just this boring grind that needs to be just drudged through, why even have it in the first place?
I will say that ESO is a bit different here because every zone is just meant to tell like a pretty decent story. That's kind of the purpose of things in ESO. Like, it's a very casual, friendly thing. There's some hardcore elements of it toward the end, like trials and stuff like that, but by and large, like, for the casual player, anytime we see horizontal progression, like, this is the unfortunate truth of those types of games, is that they're just meant to be like a predominantly casual experience. And like with ESO, it's Elder Scrolls, man. Like, it's just there to tell a good story. Like, for the new area, like, there's going to be a overarching story that's going to be pretty cool to get through. And then beyond that, it's just, you know, the game's like one big lore building exercise.
Just have players start at max.
And that was the thing that people asked in Shadowlands. Why do we even have to level up multiple characters? What's the point of this? And people were even asking this in BFA. And like now in Dragonflight, leveling up an alt takes like a few hours. It doesn't really matter. And even like, you didn't even really need to level up. You just had to go through the new quests. If you went through all of the new quests and you followed the main story quest, the MSQ of Dragonflight, you will be max level. And I actually think
that's how it should be.
It was totally good.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
It's not the same as classic though.
Level and just jump right into the end game. What is the purpose?
Not only is that how it should be, but like you should probably hit that milestone before you finish the story.
Game
pacing
in an MMO should fill you with a sense of adventure.
I think this was something that, like, I was really happy that I didn't try to power level and play through Lost Ark as fast as possible. And I got a chance, like, it was really fun that first month of Lost Ark because people were playing so many different versions of the game based off of what their progression was. And the game only got boring until whenever everybody was at tier 3, farming the same dungeons, doing the same stuff, waiting for the same boss. Yeah, the release of Lost Ark was fucking awesome. Because you did have a little bit of this, because you'd have to spend a lot of time like grinding through islands and like farming through chaos dungeons and the tower in order to get from like tier 1 to tier 2 or tier 2 to tier 3. Like the questing experience was super easy and it didn't matter in the same way that classic WoW did. It's like a completely different level, but I do think the first month of Lost Ark was really great.
Game should be teaching you how to play your class. Early games
I don't know.
introducing you to the lore, to the.
I don't know. I don't know if he's just hyped up on the newness of Lost Ark there, because I feel like he would probably have a similar critique of New World, but after that month, like you probably walked away with a much more negative view of those games, and Lost Ark pushed you through the leveling process way faster than say New
World, the mechanics of the game. It should be introducing you to treasures and moments that make you go, whoa, that was awesome. In an MMORPG, a game all about leaving this world, behind and immersing ourselves into a whole new world, an MMO needs to cultivate a feeling of going on an adventure. And modern games compared to older MMOs just don't have that. There's barely any
Going on an adventure. I think Elden Ring, you go on an adventure in
World.
Elden
Oh my
Ring.
god, the Elden Ring meme. Okay.
I think that from what I've heard, you go on an adventure in Breath of the Wild.
More
Don't
so than
quote me
Elden.
on
That's
that. I think
way
you
more of an
also
adventure
go on an
than
adventure in
Elden
Final
Ring.
Fantasy 14 with the questing. But it's a different kind of adventure. Valheim, you go on an adventure as well. I would agree with that.
These are all memes in Asmongold's community.
Yeah.
Any MMOs that really adhere to this formula and made it like a core concept of their gameplay. You have early World of Warcraft, Lord of the Rings Online, Star Wars Galaxies.
Nice.
What other ones are there? I don't really remember. Maybe Warhammer Online when it first came out, but that was so long ago. I don't remember.
It was like 2008
It's
or
just
something.
fascinating watching all these people playing classic hardcore, dying at level 8, level 10, level 20 or something, and then just starting all over again, same zones, and they have no problem with it. They're just like, oh, cool, let's do it again. And it just really shows how good Blizzard's old school game design was in the fact that it's so replayable.
It was.
I think
It's
there's
not
also a
good.
meta of this too, because like a lot of the people that are doing this are like classic WoW streamers and they're not going to have anything else to stream. So it's like, yeah, they have to do it again because that's what people want to watch. That's it. Like if they go and they play another game, people are going to leave.
Yeah, he's just
That's just
now
how
he's
it
just
is.
going in on
And
one-trick
if they go and they
streamers.
play retail, people are going to leave. That's how it is. So it's like streamers liking it. Yes, because like also if it wasn't fun to watch, people wouldn't watch it. But is it being fun to watch, meaning that it's fun to play? It's a content bubble, and there's like nuances to it with streaming as well.
Going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with that. So that's my rant for the day, fellas. I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you guys, a few little observations that I've seen while playing WoW recently and seeing this big change in the community.
Yeah, I don't really care about the WoW community.
Watch, people wouldn't watch it, but is it being fun to watch, meaning that it's fun to play? It's a content bubble, and there's like nuances to it with streaming as well.
Going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with that. So that's my rant for the day, fellas. I just wanted to share a few
One-trick streaming is bad in general, and anytime you create those content bubbles, like the worst thing is that those bubbles pop, and those streamers are met with the unfortunate reality of not being able to pay their bills because they base their entire livelihood around one game. But we know, like anybody who watches Twitch knows, these people exist in large hordes, and yeah, hopefully the bubble never bursts. But Good luck on that. WoW stood the test of time though.
Thoughts with you guys, a few little observations that I've seen while playing WoW recently and seeing
At least so
the big
far.
change in the community. What do you guys think though? Do I have a point? Am I just being silly? And if you don't know anything about Classic WoW Hardcore, by the way, check out this video. I gave Classic WoW Hardcore a chance on your screen right now because in that video I go through my entire adventure from getting killed multiple times, leading level 1 raids, finally getting a girlfriend, and also harassing my friend and desperately trying to teach him how to play WoW.
I might try that out.
Finally getting your girlfriend.
Well, that's interesting.
Why
But
is it
yeah.
nowadays that
How do you do that one?
Yeah, they got me in the second half. Most of the hardcore community. What's this here? We'll get the real end goal. Killing a in raid boss without dying. I might be wrong, but that certainly motivated a decent amount of people. Yeah, I mean, I think that Blizzard should make hardcore classic WoW servers. If they did that, I don't really know if I'd play on one. It depends on the kind of content. Like streaming, I stream for fun and I stream because I enjoy it. But if I know my viewers will really enjoy something or really like something, even if I'm not like feeling super compelled to do it, I'll do it anyway because I like making people happy. So yeah, I might try something like that out, but it's in general not something that I like getting into or not something that I really enjoy. It's not even possible to have the adventure aspect anymore because of guides and shit. Yeah, I mean, that's true. However, I think that it's you can at least not look at the guides and have an adventure in Classic WoW nowadays. But even if you don't look at the guides, you're not going to really have much of an adventure in New World. Or in... And New World has improved a lot, by the way. It's gotten a lot fucking better, but especially on release. You're not going to have a fucking adventure with this. You're just
Dude, I literally made this. I knew he would make this critique.
Yeah, metagaming is just way bigger and way different. Now, I think that if Blizzard, I do think that Blizzard, they should do Season of Mastery 2, and they should add a hardcore server. I'm probably not going to play on the hardcore server, but if they add new content at least. If they don't add any new content, then yeah, maybe I might play on it because I don't really think I'm going to really go through everything again just to fucking to do that again. But I really hope they add a Season of Mastery 2 and they start actually making Classic Plus. It's time. It's been time. It's been time for the last 6 months, for the last 8 months, for the last maybe year. Let's get Classic Plus. Let's start re-releasing the game, make it good again, etc. And the two ways to do Classic Plus, I don't think that they are. I think that Classic Plus can happen. Absolutely. Blizzard has actually put in a lot of work into WoW with Dragonflight. Unironically, no meme, no joke, no bullshit. They have put a lot of post-launch work into Dragonflight. And I think that's awesome. I'm really happy to see that. And if they put that energy into Classic WoW, I think it will pay off even more than it has in Dragonflight. I was actually going to watch that video about Preach, about how Dragonflight hurt, Shadowlands hurt WoW a lot. I love Nixxiom's videos. He has a lot of the same opinions that I do on this kind of stuff. Dragonflight. Unironically.
There are my thoughts. On top of Asmongold's thoughts, on top of, I don't know who this person was. Nixxiom. On top of Nixxiom's thoughts. And, yeah. Check the socials. Watch the streams. All the things. Stay chill. Keep it real. Peace.